Today we're going to draw this truck. This is going to be a shading tutorial using charcoal and white pastel chalk. And if you need to know how to do a good outline, well, I've got some videos linked below that'll help you get to that point. But here we are with the outline. And we're just starting to fill in some of the white spots. Now, if you look at your reference photo, you're going to find there's a lot of spots that have the light reflecting off of. It's just kind of like a real bright white. And that's what we put on there. Now in this video, I'm working on the light stuff first, and I'm coming back and I'm filling in the dark. Now I like to hit both extremes, the real dark and the real light first, and then I'll come back with midtones. Does anybody else ever record sound for YouTube or any other way, and every time you start recording, something makes a sound? There's a tornado siren going off behind me. If you've ever had this happen to you, let me know in the comments. This is obnoxious. Alright, back to the tutorial before we get too many more noises going off. Right now what I'm doing with this white pencil, I'm just going through and I'm giving some lines and a little bit of a texture for the wood grain. Now I'm not putting any detail. I'm using a very sharp pencil and I'm doing some pretty straight lines, which is something you normally try to avoid when you're doing this, because when you start shading them out, it ends up looking blocky. But we've got wood grain, and that's a little bit different creature to deal with. All right, so I'm going back over that with just a little bit of a gray. That way I can blend them together. All right, I'm going to get my blending stuff, and we're just going to start through there. Now, I've done those two, and I've started over here just doing these sections, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll go across left to right. But then I realized that if I do that, I'm going to lose some consistency across the longboards. So I went ahead and did the longboards. Now, I've got this piece of notebook paper here. One thing it's doing is it's blocking me from smudging my drawing. Yeah, I want the drawing to smudge, but I want it to smudge where I want it to smudge. I don't want it to smudge anywhere else. I'm using a blending stump here, and I'm just going across there, and I'm following the texture of the wood grain. Going back in, add a little more detail, a little more shading, and I'm going to smudge them again. And you just keep doing that until you get it to the darkness you want. You can almost see those boards starting to pop out. Now I'm giving a little bit more wood grain texture, and I'm going to smudge them out. Now that's going to lighten it up good. If I wanted them a little bit darker, I'd have to go back on. Now this bottom piece here is steel, but I wanted to give it just a little bit lighter steel texture than what it was, or color than what it was. So I did the dark, and then I went back over it, and I just wanted it a little bit lighter because all this stuff underneath is going to be really dark. So as always, I work one shape at a time, fill it in, light stuff, dark stuff, midtones, smudge it, and I just keep repeating. You notice right there on that leaf spring in the back, I just put one little white line underneath there. I don't really want it to show through much, but it's got to be there. So when we're done smudging that out, you're not even really going to see it. It's just going to be a little bit lighter color of gray. I absolutely love doing wheels and anything like that because it has so many reflections in there. Those lug nuts each have a little reflection on them. The hub has a reflection, the tire, everything has a reflection. Now you notice I'm putting some white on the wheels. A lot of people would question that, like, wait a second, there's no white on tires. But look at your reference drawing or your reference photo. There's lighter stuff there than you think. All right, so now I'm doing the undercarriage a little further. And this is really just a big dark blob. Your eyes do weird things for you. You'll start to think, man, there's some detail on that thing. You can almost see a drive shaft there. It's not there. It's just a black blob. The only place where I actually drew the drive shaft was that one little white line down there to show the bottom, a reflection off the ground. And that's it. Now we're moving on to the cab. And I'm just doing the big white section there. I'm putting in some darker things so I don't overdo them. I really like the way that open window turned out at the end. It already looks really good. Basically, I'm just filling things in as I go, putting a little bit of shade on, but not much. White is a very hard color to actually get to be white in the end. The white charcoal pencil does help. In the past, I've tried to do this with graphite, and it just doesn't work anywhere near as good. There you have it underneath. It looks a little bit gray already. You see that? I'm going to have to go back over that. But that's what's very easy to happen is you end up with a gray truck that was supposed to be white. And a lot of times, if I'm not doing it for something special, I'll just change the color of the truck. But for this one, I really want it to be white. When you're adding shading over top of white, you want to make sure that you don't have a blending stump that's like super saturated with charcoal. Some people keep a separate blending stump just for doing white. I don't. Sometimes I'll just rub the blending stuff on some paper to get it to be less white, and sometimes I'll just press less, and that's what I've been doing mostly lately. Now, some idiot forgot to draw the front of that truck bed. I don't know if anybody even noticed yet because I missed it completely. I guess that was me. Anyway, we'll go back here in a minute. We'll draw that. But once again, tires and wheels are my favorites. There's just so much detail in them and little reflections. And the reflections is what really sets these drawings apart. If you can find something with a reflection, well, it's going to be great. Now I'm just putting a little shading underneath, and then I just want to smudge that out like a lot so that it's not there. Adding a few more details, and I'm going so fast that everything's blurred. Hey, you finally remembered that, and then he's going back and he's filling that in. Not a lot of detail in the front of that cab, which is fine. That's about it. That's the drawing. So then we're going to go down here and we're going to erase a lot of this excess. I want to keep a kind of a crisp line there on the bottom of the shading, the shadow, and that's about it, guys. Sign it, we're done. That's it. I hope you all enjoyed this, and if you do, subscribe, because I do a lot of these drawings. I'm going to do more tutorials, more in-depth tutorials. I'll probably do one that focuses on wheels, focuses on tires, focuses on all the little nuances and parts and how to do things and the tools and equipment, everything. Just stick with me, guys. This is going to get good. I appreciate y'all hanging out. And until next time, be good.